Hello, and this is part 2 of my video about the trip along the coast from Ouistreham to Fécamp. I'm going to have to be quite quick because it's 1 o'clock in the morning and we have to be up at 4 to leave at 5. And it's been a very busy day in Fécamp, so I'm basically a day and a bit behind on these videos because we've had a lot of challenges. I've had to redo the schedule and I'm just going to have to do these videos as and when I can, so I do apologise for that. But here's part 2 of transit along the coast from Ouistreham to Fécamp. This is what Ouistreham looked like when we were waiting for the lock to open all morning, and what it looked like as we were entering the lock. This is us in the lock when the weather has started to get a bit overcast and cloudy. And this is leaving Ouistreham on a moderate state of tide and about 16 knots of wind, so that's a force 4 on the Beaufort scale. And you can see we're going past a ferry, and you can see the boat ahead of us as well, and the sort of size of the waves. The visibility was also poor, so we went to the high water mark outside Fcamp as we planned, and this is about a mile or so offshore, and this is the view of the Dives estuary from that point, so you can't really see a great deal, and there's the mark of where it is on Google Maps and what it looks like on the nav chart that we've got. It was very interesting keeping an eye on the depth gauge of how much water there was under the keel, and this is just moving around the supposed deep water outside Fcamp, so you can see the fluctuation in the sandbanks underneath us, and they're jumping from several meters to less than a meter just as we're moving, like within seconds. So you can see why this is a really challenging area to navigate today in deeper draft vessels. You can also see the ships on the chart plotter up ahead of us coming out of the Seine estuary. So you can see some of those ships from the chart plotter up ahead of us in this video. The visibility is quite poor. You can't see the Seine estuary at all. There's quite a lot of rain and the waves are building as well, so we can getting jumped about a bit. It's a bit bouncy, and the sail is depositing all the water that it's collected on me because we're motoring at the moment because we need to get across that traffic lane, so we're getting very wet, and the weather continued to worsen throughout the day, and it got quite bad towards the end of our journey into Fécamp. So this video is from the action camera that I've got attached to the back right hand corner of the boat, and you can see the waves are very bad, the visibility is very bad, the rain's very heavy, and this is not even the worst that it got. As it got darker, we had a gale spring up, and the weather warnings had been for it to be clear by the time we arrived in the area, but it actually started when we arrived in the area. So there was a northeast wind, which is not ideal for getting into Fécamp, and it took us a very long time to get in. We were going against the wind and the tide, and as you can see, the waves were very big, and it was dark. It's quite a difficult harbour to get into in those conditions. The Shell Channel Pilot book, which is the sort of guidance for specific marinas around the channels, it tells you not to try and get into Fécamp in a northwesterly wind, and that would have been nearly impossible, certainly in those conditions, because the way that the wind would have hit us is in the side, so it would have the waves would have been nearly capsizing us, which is pretty difficult to do in modern sailing yachts, but we were very lucky and we got in safely. I thought this picture was quite interesting to talk about. It's the first time that I saw the leading lights into Fécamp. I can't remember off the top of my head how far out we were when I saw them, but it's quite difficult to see these lights in the dusk, in a storm, and with the waves undulating the ship. It means that the light goes in and out of view, so it takes a little bit of time to make sure that you're happy that you have seen what you've seen. But although these are modern lights, they're elevated, so they're on the cliff top. These are also on the outer pillars. When you get closer, you see there's actually several lights that lead ships into harbour safely, and you have to line them up in certain ways to make sure that they you can follow them in properly. But I just thought it was interesting because in the 11th century and in later periods as well, beacons would have been used at night to help ships get into harbour, but it's very difficult. And it's something I want to investigate further. I know there's a project in the University of Stavanger looking at beacons, so hopefully I'll be able to make contact with them, and we can see what Viking age beacons, which is the subject of that project, see what their research finds. That would be really interesting. I look forward to hearing more about that. So this is us arriving in Fécamp. It's midnight when we arrive, and it's taken us an extra 2 hours to what we had planned due to that storm that we got caught in at the end. And it's just really interesting. In this video you can see how calm it is by comparison. As soon as you get into this harbour, the wind, you're protected from the wind rather, because it's got cliffs to both sides. So yeah, it really was a safe haven, and we were very, very grateful to get into it. This is the route that we took today and this evening from Ouistreham to Fécamp. It's about 41 nautical miles, and it took us 10 hours, but it was supposed to take 8. I'm very sorry I've had to whisper throughout this video. Everyone else is asleep because it's so late. We got in at midnight, and then we had to secure the boat and have something to eat because it had been so rough we hadn't been able to cook any dinner on the boat. So yeah, I'm not very happy with this video. So I made that video when I got in from that really quite intense and long trip from Ouistreham to Fécamp through the storm. Was soaked to the skin, very tired, very hungry, really exhausted to be honest, and I really wasn't very happy with it, and I didn't really want to share it. But I also feel like this is a video diary of the trip as well as me trying to give people who are interested in my research something as well. So I have put it up, even though I do still hate it, just as an initial capture of the experience, really, which is what this is all about. I also did manage to see Etretat as we were going past in the really poor weather. It was just before it got too dark, so I was really glad to have seen that place. And I've really got a greater appreciation of all those little boats going out into these waters in different weathers, and I've got an awful lot to think about. It's been a really useful experience, and I'm really glad that we had the really bad weather. It was very intense at the time, very, very cold and very wet, and it was very long, so it was quite an endurance test, but it's what being out at sea is often like, so it's a really valuable experience to have, and I'm going to try and keep that in mind when I'm going through my research in future. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I apologise for the quality, I apologise for the intonation, etc. But I hope you've found it interesting, and I'm going to not commit to doing any more videos until I have caught up on my sleep and I've got a bit more time and I can do them justice. But I will try and post pictures every day on Twitter, and I will make sure that I do keep some updates coming in the future. So thank you very much.